Okay, Wednesday's video, and we're gearing up for yet another wintry Celtic encounter. This evening we take on Dundee at Celtic Park. I've got all of the pre-match chat for you today, get you up for the game, because every game needs a bit of getting up for. And we're going to discuss press conferences yesterday, most notably Brendan Rodgers. Just before we get started, it is once again that time that comes up probably every month or so when I mobilise the Celtic AM troops and kindly ask you to do me a big favour, exactly what it's saying at the bottom of the screen there. And if you are watching this and haven't yet subscribed, please click that button. January was our biggest month yet. We're absolutely flying, and I really owe it all to you legends. But did you know that 52.3% of you who watched a Celtic AM video in January weren't subscribed to the channel? That's over half, and even a Rangers fan could work that out. So go on, click that button and make all my dreams come true. It's completely free, and I promise you things are getting bigger and better here on Celtic AM. And also just a wee mention and a reminder that every single show we put out is also available as an audio only podcast, meaning that you can listen when you're out and about. You just need to search for Celtic AM on your chosen podcast app or click one of the many links in the description. Okay everyone, yesterday's video was a fairly big one. It seemed like almost everyone had something to say about Celtic's transfer business or lack of transfer business. The reason I know that is that yesterday's video, at this point, which is about 20 odd hours after it was released, has around 350 comments, and that is around about 100 more than the second best video ever in the history of this channel, which is admittedly only 1 year, but it still just shows the strength of feeling on both sides regarding yesterday's video. Me and Asim were on. You can check that out if you want. A lot of people agreeing with me and Asim. Fair to say a lot of people disagreeing and thinking it was an overly negative video. And listen, that's fair enough. We all have different viewpoints on this thing. I think the key thing is that we all want the best for Celtic. But yeah, it's fair to say it was a topic that got people going. And we're going to touch on what Brendan Rodgers had to say yesterday a bit further into the video. But a key point that he made was that it's important to move forward now as one and not have a cloud over everything that we've achieved so far this season and how we're all feeling about things. Now, I'm clearly still disappointed that we didn't sign a replacement for Kyogo. I maintain that's unacceptable, and nothing anyone says is going to change my mind in that. But also, I think as Brendan Rodgers, who probably wasn't too happy about it either, to be fair, I think he's right to say that it's time to move forward. And, you know, we've achieved so much this season, we still can achieve so much. And so let's just get on with it. And we literally have no choice but to get on with things at this stage. So, yeah, for that reason, I'm not really going to go back into yesterday too much. I was going to kind of go through some of your comments, the ones saying that it was a disgrace, the others saying that me and Asim were a disgrace, and, you know, air both viewpoints. But I just think after the manager spoke yesterday about moving on from things and the fact we've got a game tonight, I think it is more important that we do move on. And I guess we move on by first looking back at some things the manager said yesterday. But as I say, I'm not really going to go back into the whole debate about the striker or no striker thing. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers was asked a fair bit about that. I think I counted 12 of the first 13 questions were on that subject or a variation of that subject. The only question that wasn't was still transfer related. It was asking whether Kieran Tierney had been close to signing for the club in January. The answer to that was no. So that wasn't close to happening. Now, Brendan Rodgers didn't shy away from the comments that he made 10 days or so ago after news of Kyogo leaving emerged, and saying that he wanted another striker signed. He was pretty clear at that point that he wanted another striker signed, despite Daizen been able to play there. So he didn't shy away from that, which I thought was good. He says the club will go away, review their processes and try to be better for the summer. But his main message was this, and it's a pretty lengthy quote, but I think it's a very important quote to get an understanding of where Brendan Rodgers' mind is right now. He says, "I think what's very, very important is that what you learn through experience is the emotional transfer. If you have the hump, with the greatest respect, then as the coach and the leader, my leadership style is very much a motivational style where I like to teach, I like to inspire, and I like to motivate. You've got to be in a good mood for that in the main. As I said repeatedly, with experience, you learn not to kill your joy over things you can't actually control. As we are sat here now, we can do absolutely nothing about it. So I go out that door and I've still got the same group of players, which I'm really happy with. Players that tomorrow night, if we win our game in hand, we will go 13 points clear with 13 games to go. We've won a trophy. We're in a playoff stage of the Champions League. We've had a fantastic season until this point. So I don't want to put any clouds over that there and take a narrative which is negative. This can still be a really, really positive season for us. So while you can clearly read between the lines and Brendan Rodgers isn't entirely happy about not signing a replacement for Kyogo, he wants to move forward and make sure that this negative feeling that it's fair to say a lot of people, including myself, were feeling yesterday doesn't impact things on the pitch, which I guess is a real, a sign of a really good manager, and probably fair to say learning from his previous experiences potentially at Celtic. I think there's a fair chance that's what he's kind of speaking about there. In terms of the strikers that we do have on our books, all two of them, I'm joking, we have three, although one of them's leaving in the summer for sure, and actually wasn't mentioned at all by the manager yesterday, Daniel Cummins, which I guess not mentioning him was quite an interesting thing in itself. But he did talk up Johnny Kenny, who he says has improved a lot since going out to Shamrock Rovers, I think 18 months ago. He says there's no doubt Johnny Kenny's a natural finisher. There have been some reports about Johnny Kenny still potentially leaving Celtic. I think St Mirren were linked with him on deadline day. We didn't sell him to St Mirren even on loan. Shamrock Rovers been mentioned as well. The Irish window is open until February the 22nd. I think it's very clear though from what Brendan Rodgers said that Johnny Kenny isn't going to be leaving Celtic. He also talked up Dyson Maeda, who he says has better pressing and more penetrative running even than Kyogo. He reiterated that he doesn't need his strikers to score 40 goals. It's all about the greater good of the team. He also spoke positively about Jeffrey Schlupp. I think it's Schlupp rather than Schlupp, who Brendan Rodgers heard good things about when he arrived at Leicester. The pair didn't actually work together at Leicester, but apparently Schlupp had made such an impression that people still spoke positively about him to Brendan Rodgers. He spoke about not bringing in someone to cover Greg Taylor this time last year. And I was trying to think, did we actually function with Greg Taylor as our only left back for the second half of last season? And we must have. I find that ridiculous, but I think he mentioned Liam Scales as maybe the backup, but basically he didn't want to leave Greg Taylor quite as exposed this year, so he decided to bring in Jeffrey Schlupp, and he's been viewed as a left back clearly, but I think he's maybe going to pop up on the left wing and possibly in central midfield as well. By the way, just on Schlupp, he's given an interview, not a press conference, but an interview to Celtic TV that the club annoyingly only put the first third out free to air on YouTube with the rest on Celtic TV. But I have means and ways to find out what was said. And Jeffrey Schlupp is a pretty impressive guy. I think he's quite laid back. He's all about the team and playing his part for the team, which I think is going to go down well. And yeah, I have a wee feeling that Jeffrey Schlupp is going to turn out to be a player that's becomes a bit of a cult hero in the Celtic support, and I think he's going to be really appreciated by us. And I know this is incredibly early to be saying this because he hasn't even kicked a ball for us yet, but I have a feeling that he might be more than just a 5-month loan sign, and I could see him coming in and clearly has a lot of experience. The point he made in the Celtic TV interview is that he's played in the Premier League for, I think it's a decade, if not longer, but he's sampled every part of that league, from winning it with Leicester all the way to trying to avoid relegation. So he's got a lot of experience of different things, which can be very useful. What was the point I was making? Yeah, I think with that experience and maybe people not expecting too much from him, because everyone's talking about Kieran Tierney in the summer, I just have a feeling he might come in and actually be pretty good for us and really be really loved by the support. And given that he's out of contract with Palace in the summer, may end up being just a signing that people want us to make in the summer just for an extra body. The fact that he's versatile is very important. So I think he's one to watch, Jeffrey Schlupp, over the next 4 or 5 months. He spoke a bit about Kasper Schmeichel being the first thing that he looked for when he came or heard about Celtic's interest. And apparently those two are still in the same Leicester City group chat from when they won the league in 2016. Could he make his debut tonight? Well, Brendan Rodgers says he's ready to go. Just moving on to tonight's game then, and it's the visit of 10th placed Dundee in a game that was postponed for that storm we had 10 days or so ago. As you can see, a chance to go 13 points clear, and I think it's a good one tonight. Back at Celtic Park, should be a good crowd there. Chance to see Jeffrey Schlupp, chance to see Jota, of course, which is a big one. It's going to be in people's minds and lips. And yeah, an opportunity, as Brendan Rodgers said, to go 13 points clear with 13 games to go. We're the only show in town tonight. Some would argue that's always the case, but quite literally, we're the only Premiership game tonight. Get another 3 points and move a step closer to 4 in a row. So I'm looking forward to it tonight. Team news-wise, and this is a cracker, Brendan Rodgers saying all the players that are fit are available for tonight. So thanks for that, Brendan. I'm assuming that means James Forrest won't feature tonight as he's still injured. We do have Wraith Rovers in the Scottish Cup on Saturday, and obviously Bayern Munich next midweek. So I think he might rotate things a little bit on Saturday evening, and we might see a pretty full-strength team tonight. This is what I'm going for. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, back four of Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty and Greg Taylor. Midfield, I'm going Callum McGregor again with Luke McCowan against his old club and Arne Engels. I'm pretty sure Engels will come back into things this evening. And now our strongest front three, although I guess Jota's in the picture now as well. But I'm going with Kuhn on the right, Maida on the left and Ida through the middle. Officials wise for tonight, the referee is Colin Stephen, assisted by Jonathan Bell, Alistair Mather, and on VAR duties is Alan Muir. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game tonight. Unlike a certain Celtic AM contributor who messaged me earlier saying he's just a bit fed up of these cold, wintry evening games at Celtic Park that all seem to be blending into one. And I guess it's a bit easier for me to say sitting in my gaff in the summer here in Melbourne. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the team back in action. I just love watching Celtic. And yeah, I think this game's got a wee kind of something to it tonight. I guess a big part of that is Jota and seeing him back at the club. And you're always excited to see new signings as well. So Jeffrey Schlupp. And I guess with the Bayern game coming up in a week's time, a chance for the team just to try and get some form together, momentum gathered ahead of that game. So yeah, looking forward to it. One final bit of transfer news, probably for a few months, and I saw it earlier and I wanted to mention. Spurs have signed a young player we were linked with last month, and it's a highly rated Irish teenager, Mason, I think it's pronounced Melia. I did bring him up a few weeks ago probably, and someone said in the comments exactly how you pronounce it, and it wasn't Melia. So apologies if I got that wrong. I couldn't go all the way back and find your comment, but I had good intentions even if I haven't quite pulled it off. But yeah, he's highly rated. He's going to join Spurs next January, so January 2026. So Andrew's beating us to that one, sadly. But yeah, plenty more strikers for Celtic to sign going forward. Okay, everyone, enjoy the game tonight. I'll be back first thing tomorrow.